welcome back. Well, I'm afraid more difficult news for you to swallow. You're going to have to dig deeper into your pocket for fuel. The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy confirming yet another big fuel price hike. 93-octane petrol going up by R2.37 a litre. Imagine the SMS going off then. 95-octane will increase by R2.57. The price of diesel going up by R2.30. All of those petrol price hikes, those fuel price increases coming into effect from midnight tomorrow night. Well, as fuel prices are soaring, rail infrastructure is crumbling, road networks buckling under the pressure, as passenger and freight traffic having no choice but to move back to tarmac. These and other issues being discussed during 4 days of presentations with industry decision makers at the Southern African Transport Conference. Well, the Southern African Transport Conference Organising Committee member, Dr. Mathetha Mokonyama, joins me now. Dr. Mokonyama, good evening to you, and thank you very much indeed for your time. There's an awful lot for you to discuss at the moment. I imagine that rising fuel costs, the simple cost of moving things around, is going to be a big factor in your debates.
Absolutely. Good evening, Stephen. We've got about over 20 countries represented at the Southern African Transport Conference. It's our 40th edition, and we've got a lot of material that can be used to help us make better decisions, going forward. And part of what we're talking about is about building resilient, built environment. And the issue that we're talking about now on fuel costs is something that one of the topics that we've touched on, we're touching on in the conference, going forward.
You talk about resilient networks. We'll come to railways in a moment, but with roads in particular, if I remember you're an expert on roads, you need to build roads now to withstand much higher loads. So one of the problems our roads have is that they're carrying too much. They're carrying too much and they're carrying it too often.
Yes. We've got a very extensive road network. If you compare us with, for example, China, one of our participants in the conference, they've got 20 to 20 times the population. But then in terms of the road network, they have, 10 times the road network. So South Africa's got a very dense, road network. We're built like we are, Americans. So it means that we need to have, very large maintenance budgets. Our rail network is also quite large, but the problem is that we haven't maintained it to the extent that we should. And that's why you see a lot of, traffic, moving towards rail. Towards roads. But also in the policy space, in the late 1980s, there were decisions made back then to deregulate transport. Essentially to say you in the freight, transport industry is essentially free for all, as long as you can show that you can operate a safe, truck. You can operate. And what that did is that it flooded the market with a lot of trucks on the roads, but then also in the public transport space, it flooded the market with vehicles that were not provided rationally.
Within all of this, there's going to be a big debate, I think. Many people in South Africa are going to be talking about the rail network. Should we be moving a lot more onto the rail network? And it seems obvious we should. But it's possibly more expensive because we've got roads that work. The railways, on the other hand, are in a real crisis state. You speak to a coal company CEO, they're probably pulling their hair out at the moment. How important is it for us to prioritize our rail network? I imagine this is going to be a big discussion point for you. Yes,
it is a big discussion point. Tomorrow, in fact, on Wednesday, that is one of the points that we're discussing. And it's really about, focusing on the customer. It's not about how much money you spend. Sometimes when we report on progress and impact, we look at the money that we spend, but we need to be looking more at the, what impact you're having on the customer. We need to have stronger relationships with the industry, such that your metrics, the metrics that you report on, make sense to the customers that you service.
If we look at what's happening in the electricity industry at the moment, Dr. Mokonyama, I can see light behind you, which means that you're lucky enough to have lights on at the moment. But there's a lot going on, and you can start to see what our network, our electricity network, might look like in 5 to 10 years' time. Can you see what our transport networks are going to look like? Do you think they're going to change significantly in the next 10 to 20 years?
Well, one of our presenters was from Salga, indicated that only about 15% of councillors in local government have a post-matric, qualification. And when you're a transport planner, you come up with, very complex things that require, sophisticated ways of looking at things, processing. So, we have a very challenging situation in that we need to package our solutions in a way that they are digestible, such that they are implementable ultimately. So how we communicate needs to, talk to, everyone, even the councillor who does not have that, post-matric, qualification. So going forward, for us to recover, we need to work closely with our communities. We need to work closely with our councillors to make sure that the language that we use, is not too technical, unimplementable, so they can use this information to implement. If we continue to work in silos, we are going nowhere. At this rate, if things continue like they are, we are going to have, in fact, we already have, the load shedding of transport infrastructure. It's just that with us, there's a way of maneuvering through the potholes. With electricity, you get, you shut down, completely. So, but the lesson to us is that we need to communicate better. We need to get better at, making sure that we package things. The technical things are more digestible for everybody.
Dr. Mathetha Mokonyama, thank you. A committee member of the organising committee of the Southern African Transport Conference. Well.